Just testing the sound out. Sweet. All right. Hello. Hi, everyone. I haven't met you yet. So, hi, my name's Sadie. I'm an instructor here. You may have seen me lurking around the halls in the evenings. I teach the part-time Intro to Front-End course on Wednesdays. I'm a software developer. I'm a back-end developer, and I work for a company that makes augmented reality games to get kids active on playgrounds. But I'm also a Lighthouse alumni, so I went through the boot camp. I was a training manager before for a restaurant group, and now I'm a software developer. So that's me. How is everyone doing? It's week 2, day 3, and you're on Tiny App. How's it going? Good. I see smiles, so that's a good thing. Anyone want to share any thoughts on Tiny App so far? You started yesterday, is that right? Cool. Awesome. Okay. Awesome. That's good. Don't quite get HTML? That's cool. The good thing about Tiny App is that the focus isn't so much on HTML. So next week when you start Tweeter, then you'll get a bit more practice with that. So this week's really more JavaScript-y, which is good. So awesome. Today is week 2, day 3, and we're talking about CRUD with Express. So I guess first up, you've been using Express for Tiny App for the past day or so. So what is Express? Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Yeah, so Express is it's a framework that lets us create routes and write middleware. So when we have that like middle product between the client and the server, when we get the response and the request object, that's what middleware is when we've got access to both of those objects. So it's a framework designed to make it easier to create routes. Because you can do that with JavaScript, but it's hard. So Express makes it a lot easier, a lot more painless, though it might not feel that way just yet. Okay, so that's Express. What does CRUD stand for? Yeah, go for it. Create. Awesome. Create, read, update, and delete. And these are really the basic functions that an app should be able to perform on resources. So today, I guess the kind of goals for today are we want to be able to perform all CRUD actions upon available resources or upon like given data. There's another acronym that you might hear as well, and it's BREAD. It's really similar. It stands for browse, read, edit, add, and delete. And so really it's just kind of covering one more thing in there. When we talk about read today, we're going to do 2 kind of read actions. We're going to read everything, and then we're going to read one specific thing. So it's like getting all of the things, or in this case for bread, it would be like, that would be browse. So you might hear that as well. We're also going to use forms to submit HTTP requests, and this is how it's going to be done in Tiny App. So we'll talk about what that entails in a little bit. And so the idea for today is, like, I want to be able to access a bunch of data. And perform particular actions on it, so our CRUD actions. Um, oh yeah, thank you for asking, for sure. Is that better? Awesome. I do my markdown like this. I kind of like to have it like typed out here, and then I have my preview here. If that's confusing, let me know, and I can just switch to just one. But that's cool. Awesome. And so, yeah, so I want to be able to access a bunch of data, perform actions on it, and I want to do that through a web interface. So, okay, so one of the things that I really want to do is like a side project, is make a cow tracking app. So my dad works on a farm, and every summer they like let all the cows loose into the mountains. And I thought it'd be really cool to have like a cow tracking app. So if you're on board, today's demo is going to be cows. Everyone cool with that? Awesome. So we're going to create cows, read them, update, and then sadly delete them. But it's just like we've sent them to another farm or something. It's fine. Okay, so I want to make a cow CRUD app with Express. I couldn't make the CUD pun. I just couldn't do it. There's a lot of puns in here that I had to resist. Okay, so I'm going to walk through how I would scaffold this up, first of all, like how I would scaffold up my Express app. The first thing I want to do is create an app.js, which is going to be my server, which is what all my routes are going to come through. Sweet, got that. And then I want to be able to install some npm packages. And in order to install npm dependencies, what do I need to do? Initialize, yeah. And that's going to be npm init-y. Awesome. So I got my package.json, and I'll be able to see all of my npm dependencies. And I need Express. Go ahead and install Express. Awesome. And I've got my lovely node modules package up here now that I want to go ahead and straight up git ignore. So I'm going to create a git ignore because I don't want to check that into Git. Nope. How's the sizing for this? Is this okay or a little bit small? Better? Cool. I'll just make this a little. Whoop. Actually, I need that for now. Okay, awesome. So now we can get going and require Express in. And then I'm going to initialize Express with app equals Express. And then what I want to do is create a listen method to listen out on a port for incoming requests. So I go app.listen. And I'm going to go port 3000. And I just want to console log. Okay. So now I have an Express app. Sweet, we're done. Okay, we'll add a little bit more to it. But now what I should be able to do is run node app.js. And I get listening on port 3000. Awesome. So if I go over here and type in localhost 3000, we get cannot get. This is good. This means it's like connecting on that port. It just means that we don't have any GET requests yet. We're not, or like we're trying to make a GET request, but we don't have any way to handle that yet in our Express app. I'll make this bigger too. Next thing I want to do is set up NodeMon. Have you set up NodeMon yet? Some of you, no, not so much. I'm pretty sure that's in today's curriculum, so you will be doing that. What is NodeMon? Yeah, go for it. Exactly. Yeah. It's just a really handy tool. Otherwise, I'm going to have to, every time I make a change, what I would have to do is Control C and then node app.js again. And I'm lazy and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to npm install NodeMon, and I'm going to save it as a dev dependency. And we just use this to say that we're only using it for development, and it'll file it as a dev dependency. Cool. And then I just want to add in a little script into my package.json that's going to make it easier to run. So start, and this just means that when I type in npm start, it's going to execute this command. Otherwise, I'd have to type this in every time. npx gets the path to node modules. So it would be like typing out / node modules, blah, 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 NodeMon, but makes it shorter. And app.js. Cool. So now I should be able to go npm start. Awesome. And I've got NodeMon watching. So every time I make a change to my app.js, let's say I'm going to verify that it's working. It's going to refresh. Everyone with me so far? Happy? Cool. Okay, the next thing I want to do, and this is really kind of my next step in any sort of dev process. I really need to visualize things and see them on the screen to be able to kind of see what I'm doing. I want to get up and running with something that I can see visually. So let's add some cows in. I'm going to just create a little mini cow database here under a variable cows. And I'm going to have an ID and a name for each cow. I think Missy and Simon are really good cow names. Does anyone have a cow name they want to volunteer? You can do it. It's okay. Beefy. Love it. Amazing. I'm gonna just Beefy the cow. Okay. Sweet. Okay, so we've got some cows, right? And all I want to do now is just see the cows displayed on the page. That's my goal right now. And for this, we're going to use EJS. So you've been using EJS a little bit now. What is it? You look like you're going to say something. Go for it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a way of basically generating HTML with JavaScript. So it's a templating language. So you're exactly right. And so where are my notes? What is EJS? JavaScript. Awesome. So we need to npm install EJS. Awesome, so that's installed. What I need to do now is set my view engine. So we set this so that we can generate our HTML with the cows, and this is called rendering. What this does is look for my views folder and makes it nice and easy to write just like the index and then pass through any variables that I want. So it's going to look for that automatically and recognize it as EJS. It knows to find the template in the view folder, basically. So let's make our index page. I'm going to make a views folder and name it properly. Cool. So we got views, and I want to make an index .ejs. Oop, and I put it in the wrong folder, so I'm going to drag and drop. Awesome. So this looks like HTML. And I'm just going to scaffold it up. But you can see it's got like some funky like highlighting on this. It looks weird. And that's just like my editor doesn't have great syntax highlighting for EJS. So it's all like, it comes out all red. But that's fine. We can live with that. F8, and I'm going to call it counting cows because that's what we're doing. What does the title do? Does anyone know? In head? The tab, yeah. Yes, it does. So that names the tab. And then create body. And let's just count some cows. Cool. Ah. Okay, so I've got just my like skeleton. This is my HTML skeleton. There's no EJS in this yet. Let's create our first route. So we're going to go ahead and create the read route. And this is going to be read all the cows. So this is going to be to this route here, cows. Right? So when I type in localhost 3000 /cows, what I want to see is all my cows. Okay, so this is our first route that we're going to create. And we go app.get. And here I'm giving it my URL. And then I've got my request and response object that I've got access to. And that's what kind of like makes this middleware, is that I have access to both of those objects. And so yeah, so this function declares that when someone makes a request to /cows, this is what to do. We get the request for like context, and then the response gets built up in the function. So we're going to use the res.render method. And because I've got that because I've set the view engine as EJS, I just need to type index here. Okay, so now let's count some cows. We got an app. Awesome. We don't have our cows in there yet. So let's do this by passing in template vars. Have you been working with template vars in TinyApp? Once? Cool. Do you know what they stand for? So template var, it's like a way of passing data through. It's template variables. I worked on TinyApp for a long time and did not realize that it was template variables. And once I found that out, I was like, of course it is. And it made a lot more sense. If you knew that, you're already one step ahead. So we're going to create a template vars object or variable. Well, both. And I'm going to pass it, I'm going to just call it cows and pass through cows. Okay. So now I got to pass it to my res.render as well. And I just pass that as a second argument. Awesome. But I still don't have cows yet, because I need to do something with that information on my EJS page. I got to do something with the actual object that I'm getting. Oh, also, did I save? There we go. So I'm going to loop through the cows, and I'm going to display each one on the page. And I'm going to just create like an unordered list. My editor also doesn't really do like auto formatting with EJS. It was doing it before and it was going all over the place, so I had to turn it off. So now I have to do it myself. First thing I'm going to do is just check, are there cows? So like if cows, then I want to display them. And I gotta open the bracket. How have you found writing with EJS like so far? I saw some nods and then I heard annoying. Some mixed feelings. It can be kind of like hard to get used to after, like once you're used to JavaScript, and then if you've been looking at HTML, it's like this weird combination. I find it like a bit disorienting. So if cows, then I'm gonna loop through. And I'm gonna say let ID in cows, because that's what we've got, is we've got the ID. And then that's gonna go ahead and be a new bracket. And I'm just going to create a list item for each of those. li for list. Bless you. And we're going to go ahead and do header. Okay, and now I'm going to get in the ID and the cows. And how would I access the name of the cow using this loop here? What would I type in here? Yeah. You've got the idea of it. So I want to say cows ID. So for this cow, for this ID, give me the name. Okay, let's just have a look at this. Make sure it's all good. Cool. If cows, for let ID in cows. All right, let's have a look. Yay, we have cows. Okay, step 1, done. Now is a really good time to add in a logger. Has anyone installed Morgan yet? No, cool. So I really recommend installing this for TinyApp. It's a one-time install and a one-line thing to add in, but what it'll do is log out your HTTP requests. So it's really helpful when you're making requests. So I'm going to go ahead and npm install Morgan. I lied, it's 2 lines, I'm sorry. So we're going to require it in. And I'm just going to go app.use Morgan. Okay, so now when I refresh and head back to my logs, I've got this line here. So that gives me the get, the HTTP method, the route that it was made to, and then the status code there. So that's super helpful. I would definitely recommend installing Morgan. So that's our first HTTP request. Let's just talk about HTTP. What are the HTTP methods and what do they do? So we've got kind of the 4 main ones that we're going to talk about. We've got get, and get retrieves one or many resources, and get is what we're using right now. We've also got post, and post is used to create a resource. Then we've got put, and that is for editing or creating a resource. And then we've got delete, which deletes a resource. So get and post are what we're going to focus on for the majority of today. Let's go ahead and create our next read route. So we've got all the cows. Now what I want is that when I specify the ID of a certain cow, I want to get that information for that particular cow. So this is a read, like a read 1 cow. I'm going to create my route. And this is going to be, ooh, not that. That's not a route. Cows ID. So when I type in my URL cows/ID, I should get back 1 cow that corresponds with that ID. All right. I'm going to go ahead and create my route here. So this is going to be an app.get. And I'm going to pass in my cows ID. Rec and res. And I'm going to, so with the request, I get in the parameters that I have sent through in the URL. So this request object here should contain the ID. I'm just going to console log that for now to see what I get. Let's console.log rec.params. And what this should do is that when I type in cows, so let's try and get beefy. So A4R is the ID. Make the request here. If I pop on over, hey look, that's my rec.params. So that's fetching the parameters from here and returning it back. So I've got access to it, which is awesome. And I can use that to get the cow and the associated information. So I'm going to pop that into my template vars. And what I'm going to do is send through an ID. And that is going to be, what do we think that's going to be? Yeah. Yes. rec.params.id. Awesome. Then I also want to get the name. And how might I do that? Yes, accessing my database. So I'm going to use cows. There's 2 ways I can access something in an object when I have its key. We've got dot notation and bracket notation. Which one would I use here? Bracket. And why is that? It's a variable. Yeah. Awesome. Sweet. So we got Yeah, we got cows there. I'm going to console.log template vars. Just make sure I'm getting the right cow. Sweet. There we go. So I've made a couple GET requests in there. If I go back and just do A4R, I've made my GET request, and I've got back the ID, or this is my template vars here with the ID and the name. So this is what I want to send through to my EJS. We're going to add in res.render. And I'm going to need to create another view for this because this is separate from my listing all cows. I want to create just a specific cow page. I'm going to call it cow. I'm going to pass in the template vars. Awesome. So right now, nothing's going to happen because, surprise, we don't have a view yet. I find it really, oh no, it does, okay. I was going to say the error messages just get cut off, but I guess you can scroll. I guess it's because I'm zoomed in. It's all right. Okay, let's create a new EJS file under views so we can see our cow. Views. And we're going to go cow.ejs. Awesome. I'm just going to copy my kind of skeleton over. And with a little bit of adjustment, I can make this friendly for one cow. So instead of looping through an object, I know I only have one thing in my object, so I don't actually need to loop through it all. I'm just going to use the ID and the name because that's what I've sent through. Cool. Let's have a look. Hey, we've got a cow. Awesome. Okay. Does anyone have any questions so far? You good? Yeah, go for it.
Is it just convention to call it template vars?
Yeah, that's just convention. You could, I think it's a good convention because it tells you what it means, but I think in theory you could use anything, I believe. Let me double check, but oop, caps.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be, yeah, it's just template var. There's a lot of stuff like that, just calling your file index.html. It's just convention, but it's for readability. So if you're working and you're using EJS, and you're working with a bunch of different developers, and you are you go and create a couple more variables to pass through that are named differently, that makes it a bit harder for other people to read, or future you when you come back to read it and you're like, where are my template vars? So yeah, convention, but a good one to stick with. It's essentially just a variable name, so it's not really anything special, but good question. Okay, so that's read. That's read done. We can check that off. I don't know how to do a check. Just do a /. Yay. I'll take that away because it looks confusing. HTTP. Okay, so create happens when a post request is sent to a server. So I want to be able to create a cow. Let's add in a new route, which will render up a new, we're going to create a new view. So we're going to create a create cows view. And this is going to render up a page that we can use to do that. My route is going to look like this. Cows new /new. So this is following the RESTful convention. And my request .get. And all I want to do here is res.render. I'm going to call it create cow. Cool. So let's have a look at what that does. So that's not what I want to see. What I should be getting back is the same error that I had before, which was cows is not, like, we can't find cow or create cow because I haven't created a view yet. But I'm getting back this page, which looks a little weird. Can anyone spot what's going on here? I see some hands, yeah. So what I'm noticing on this page is I've got just one cow, please, and that is, yeah, go for it. Yeah. So it's the order that's important here. This is, yeah, so what's happening is it's going to cow's ID, like just like you said. So it thinks that new is an ID, which is not what I want. So what should I do to fix that? Put it above. Great. Now I get the error that I'm expecting. This is awesome. Okay, so we're going to create our view. And it's going to be create cow.ejs. And again, I'm just going to like scrape this up. And get rid of our list. So here is where we want to use a form to create a cow, right? We want to have an input, we want to have an ID input and a name input and a button so that when I submit it, it creates a new cow. So let's add in a form. So there's two parts to form that we add in that are important for this. The first one is action. Action tells us where the data, whatever it is, gets sent to. So this is what it's posting to. It has to be a valid URL, and you can define this using an absolute or a relative path. In this case, we're posting to cows, /cows. So this is a relative path. Then we've got our method, and this is our HTTP method. And in this scenario, what would I be using? Post. Yeah. Awesome. So we have our form, and we're going to add some input. Input type text. Text. Placeholder ID. And name ID. And name just tells me, like, this is the ID input. I'm going to do the same for name. And then last, I need a button. So I need a submit button. Sweet. Okay. Badly indented, but we've got a form. Input. Yep, looks good. So let's have a look. Dun, dun, dun. We got nothing. Okay, cool. So something's wrong. Oh, that's what's wrong. Can anyone spot some? It's not the right name. Yeah. I seem to have just duplicated the index here. So if I put it in the right actual file, fingers crossed it should work. And delete that one. Yay! We have a form. So now let's try to create a cow. Okay, so like I've got some, I was playing around with new cow names. So I think Monkey's a really cute cow name. I think that's adorable. So we're going to create a cow called Monkey and submit. Cannot post to cows, right? Let's have a look at what that looks like in the network tab. So if I open up DevTools and go over to network and submit a post, womp womp, I get 404 not found. If I scroll all the way down to the bottom, I do get my form data in here. So it is getting the form data. It's just, it's posting to somewhere that I haven't set up a route for yet. So let's start with just logging what we get to the console. So this is going to be an app dot what? Post, yeah. And it's going to post to cows. Rec.res. And all I want to do is console.log. I just want to verify that it's getting here when I make that request. Da-da-da. There we go. Moo. Okay, so now I have a route that it's like handling. I'm just not doing anything with it. I'm not actually creating the cow yet. So we've submitted the form, and in theory, we should be able to grab the data that we get in from the form, right? That's the whole point of having this form in here. Does anyone know how we do that? Yeah, go for it. Close. Very close. It's going to be rec.body. Right? So parameters would be anything in here, like in this URL, like after cows. Those are the parameters. Body is what is getting sent through as like the form data. So when we create a new cow, okay, womp womp, undefined. So here is where we get to add a new package. Does anyone know what it is? So Express doesn't actually handle this kind of parsing on its own. We need body parser to help us do that. Cool. So add body parser, and I'm going to add it in to my app. And then I'm going to set app.use. And what this line here does is tells the body parser to take the data from the form and add it to the body property in the request object. So this line is important. Cool. So app.use body parser. And now we should be able to see everything from the form field within the rec.body. So if I refresh, head on over to cows new. Yeah, there we go. So this is correctly parsing. So now I've got the ID and the name. So I've got my new cow. I need to add it to the database though. So to do that, what I'm going to do is in my post, I'm going to go cows rec.body.id equals rec.body.name. Oop. And I'm going to spell it right. So now let's just console log all the cows we've got. Yay! Okay, so now I've got 4 cows. So it's added that to my cow database. Last thing I want to do is add a redirect. So I want, after this post is done, I want to, like after it's added the cow, I want to redirect back to the cows page so that I can see all the cows. And I have a res.redirect for that. So now what should happen? There we go. So it's adding on a new cow. Now the caveat with this here is that as soon as I refresh my server, I lose the newly created one. This is because we don't have a database that we're sending the cows to. So it's going to refresh and kind of start from the beginning. This is fine, and this is how like Tiny App's going to be working as well, because databases is not this week. Okay, sweet. So we're at 9:50 now. Let's take a 15-minute break. So if you want to come back at 10:05, sound good? Cool. Actually, does anyone have any questions before I break? Yeah, go for it. Not so much. In this scenario, I generally put them together. Like, this one, I've got like cows new, and then this is like the post that handles when I've created a cow. I kind of like to put like app.get post. It depends on how you've got the routes. So if you do have one where this is like kind of a variable, the cow's ID, that's where you want to be careful. I don't know if there's a convention for it, like group all the app.gets together. There might be some opinions on that, but generally I find I like to group them in terms of like what part of the page or what part of the app they're controlling. And then if I run into issues, I can troubleshoot them from like, oh, okay, I've got something below my cow's ID. Like, I need to move this up. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Cool. Thanks. All right, go for it. I'll see you back in 15. All right. How's everyone doing? Ready to go back in? Okay. How about I get you guys to make some post requests? Okay. Do you want to create some cows? Right, I'm going to send this out in Slack. So this is a link to what we've created, this like a link to my server basically. So you can go and create your own cow. And you can see like 10 points to whoever can guess who's already made a cow on here. No. Yeah. Have you had a Kanye lecture yet? And you're in week 2. Yeah. Any. Yeah. Go crazy. Yeah. It would be useful. Yeah, that would be like the next thing I would put into it. For this purpose, we're just making them up, which is not great practice. But you're exactly right. You'd have a function to create. Or you'd use like, have you talked about UUIDs at all? UUIDs are uh, universally unique identifier, and it's what you'd use for IDs, probably in most cases, as opposed to like a 6-string digit, just because these are the probability that a UUID will be duplicated isn't 0, but it's close enough to 0. So it's just like this. I think it's like 12 digits or yeah, it looks like that. And you can use like a UUID generator. There's like libraries to create them. But in this circumstance, we're doing it like the dummy way. We got some cows. Awesome! Oh, this is great. Cow. Oh, that's so sweet. Dog. That's really sweet. I love it. Pork. Awesome. Yeah, so you've Oh my god. Matilda's a great name for a cow. I would name a cow Matilda. This is brilliant. Oh dear. So to be able to do that, I just had to add in this like bind and then get the IP address for the Wi-Fi, and then that was like what I created to make that link so that you could send them through. So that's fun. Okay, so the like sorry? Oh yeah, so this is just like adding this makes it so that I can bind it to the IP. So then that makes it like able for you to post to it. The sad thing is that when I refresh my server, we're gonna lose the cows. I know, I'm sorry. But that was a fun ride. Okay, so we have covered reading all cows. We've covered reading one cow based on its ID. We've created a cow, given it like a new ID and a name. Now we want to update a cow. So I want to be able to change the name of a cow. Let's do that. We're going to need another form to be able to do this. So I'm going to just add that in. I'm going to add in a form on my cow page, like the individual cow page, so that this has like a little update box and an update button. And the route that it's going to be at is cow's ID. So this is the same route as the read. It's just that this is going to be an update. So thinking about HTTP, what method would I use to update? Put. Yes, but also no. So put is the right answer. When I want to update something, put is the HTTP method that I would use. Forms only support get and post. So you can only use get or post with a form. And so for any other action other than get, we have to use post. So you're exactly right, and good answer. Put is the correct answer, but in this circumstance, we're going to be using post. And so anytime you are using a form, it will be either get or post. It is possible to do it a different way, but it involves a lot of like fidgety middleware. So this is what we're going to go with. I'm going to send this to cow's ID, and I'm going to use my EJS here. And so this, I'm going to do double quotes for that, will pick up the ID and pop it into my URL for the post. Method, post. And then I'm going to have an input and type text. Name. And then I just need a submit button. Cool. So this form here is going to sit on the individual cow page. Let's see. See if we still got them. No. Oh no, hang on. Oh. Okay, let's check out Beefy. Awesome. So if I inspect this form, I can see, it's probably super small for you. In form action, it's picked up a 4R, so it's picked up the ID and just added that in. This is basically just like the EJS. You could like put in any kind of JavaScript evaluation. So I could do this, and what I would get is 3. So this is gonna like evaluate whatever I put into it. It's just treating it as JavaScript when I put it within the EJS template. In this case, I want it to be the ID, so I will leave as is. And now I need to create my post, create my route for it. So I'm gonna go app.what? Post. And what's my route gonna be? What was that? So it's going to be /cows/ID. Yeah, I'm updating one cow. This is my update. And then I've got my rec and res. Cool. Okay, so now I want to update the cow. I can do that with cows. How would I get the ID for the cow? From the parameters. rec.params.id equals. And how would I, so what I want to do here is reassign the name of the cow. We're only editing the name. What would this field be? From the body, yeah. So it's going to be rec.body.name. Cool. Okay. So let's console log cows and do an update. So we got Beefy. Let's change, no, let's keep Beefy. Beefy's a good name. Let's change Simon to Bessie. Cool. And I can see in my logs. Get. And we've got Missy, Bessie, and Beefy. So I've successfully updated the cows. What should I do next? What should be my next step? So now what I want to do is view the cow that I've updated. Yeah. I'm gonna use the redirect method. And I'm going to use, so there's two ways I could do this. When was your ES6 lecture? Yesterday. Cool. Awesome. So let's look at how I would do that with ES5 first. I could type cows plus rec.params.id. So that's one way of doing it. Oh, did it go off? Is it good? Cool. Thank you. Okay, so I've got res.redirect and then cows plus rec.params.id. So this would be the ES5 wave. And when I update, yay, we go to Bessie. The other way of doing this, the other way of writing this, would be to use backticks. And then, so backticks around the whole string. This is ES6. And then my variables are going to be $ and curly bracket, like that. And this will do the same thing. Oh no. Okay. We've got a problem in here. What happened? Can anyone spot this? There's an error. Yeah. It was a rogue single quote. Oh, sorry. These cables are really finicky. Ah! Stop! Cool. Great. So now, if we go back to 39A, we get Simon and Bessie. Cool. So I can update a cow. Awesome. Now, there's a problem here, which is that if I do that, bye-bye Bessie. So I want to add in a little bit of error handling here so that I can not delete the names of the cows. In this scenario, it's not the biggest deal, but let's imagine I had a form with 10 fields and I went to update one of them and then it submitted and reset all of the other fields to blank. So what should I do to check that? What should I add in? Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Awesome. Both great answers. An if statement. So I'm going to pop in a conditional here. Let's check the rec.body.name to see if it's a blank string and then maybe not update. So if rec.body.name doesn't equal an empty string, then I'm going to do the update. So now when I head on over to Simon, I still got Simon. Cool. Any questions so far? Yes. Yeah, so the empty string is like a falsie, but what I'm saying here is if the name doesn't equal an empty string, so like if this condition is true, then update. I could write it sorry, say that again. Yes. You're totally right. Yeah. So I could do that as well. If rec.body.name, then yeah, I see what you're getting at now. Thank you. Um, then don't update. Um, and then it should yes. Yeah, actually, yeah. Let's give that a shot. Yeah. So it treats it as a string. Possibly, yeah. Yeah, like that's probably the better way to write it for sure. But it would like treat it as a string. So yeah, we could name the cow zero if we wanted to. We could name it null if we wanted to. We could name it false. Just because it's treating it as a string when it comes in through the form, it is a string. Um, but you're right. Those would do the same thing. And I would probably want to add some more error handling onto that. Um, but in this instance, that's probably fine for now. Um, um, Depending on how I would have it set out, sometimes funny characters can do weird things. So this is not actually in this app, it's not important. When you get into talking about databases, there are characters and there are strings that you can input that are destructive to your database. And so in that instance, that's actually something I would handle on like the database side of things. It's called like sanitizing your database, but that's getting way ahead of it, ahead of like where we're at. And so I might want to add some more onto that. If I was using numbers, then I would want to add in some different checking, like, you know, if it's not zero or if I was allowing zero. Yeah. In this instance, empty string is fine. Like, that's what I'll check for. Um, mm this is just going to treat it as a string, I think. If I did quotes. Yeah. Oh, to check if it's an empty string. Do you mean if I did that? So in here, everything that I'm pretty sure it's like the form that's actually handling that. Everything that gets put in is just a string. So yeah, so in this instance, the quotes are just treated as strings, basically. So you could have like this as a cow name, and that is technically valid. You might want to do that, like if you might want to check. I don't know why someone would write their name in quotes, but maybe that's something you want to check for. Probably not, to be honest. Maybe, yeah. Sarcastic cow. I like that. Oh, I didn't spell it right though. Let's do that again. Sarcastic cow. Um, okay, so we've done an update. What's next? what's the next thing we want to do? Delete. We're going to delete some cows. And to do that, we're going to add a delete button. So we've got our update. And what I want to do is just add a delete button into the same page because all of these actions are going to happen on this one cow. So hop over into my cow EJS, and under the form, I need another form. What route would this be to? Actually, let's do the route first. So bearing in mind the RESTful convention here, what do you think the route should be? Cows, excellent start, yeah. So cows, /cows. And I want the ID, right? Because I only want to delete this one cow. I really don't want to delete all the cows. So cows ID. And I need something else on here. Who said delete? I heard it whispered. Or is that in my mind? Yes, delete. So /delete. Right? So that's our route for deleting a cow. So, the form action, we're going to go to cows, ID, delete, and res. Have you guys been using the arrow syntax a little bit? So this is the ES6. Little bit. This is going to become more and more familiar the more and more you write it. This is the part of the intro to ES6. Okay. Oh, what am I doing? Okay. This is not right. Was anyone looking at this going like, what are you doing? Okay, this is wrong. This is not where I put that. I got ahead of myself and wanted to write the route for it. But I have to finish the form first. So let's do that. So form action. We've got delete. But what do I need to do to make sure that it's the right cow? The ID. I knew what you meant from that. Exactly. So I got to put the ID in here from EJS. Cool. So we got cows, ID, delete. And bearing in mind HTTP, what method am I going to be using? Post. Yeah. Should be delete, but it's not. It's post. So method post, because it's a form. And button type submit in quotes. Delete. Okay. So now what I should have, if I head on over to just one cow. What other ones have we got? I'm honestly going to pay someone to just like do this in the next lecture I do and just create cows as we go. Okay, cool. So what cow do we want to delete? 404? Yeah. 404. Oh, wait. Can we use that as is that going to work? Yeah, there we go. Okay. Okay, we're going to delete error 404. But of course, it's not going to work just yet. Check out. Have you been using the network tab in TinyApp when you've been doing TinyApp? Yeah. This is really useful for just checking out what's going on with your network requests. You see your request method, the request URL, and then when you scroll all the way down to the bottom, if you've got form input, you'll get that form data like we saw with update and create. In this case, cannot post. We need a route. Let's go and make a route. You go head on over to our app.js and app.what? Post. Yeah. And what's my route? Cows ID delete. Awesome. Now we've got our rec.res, recres, and our arrow syntax. And we're going to want to delete a cow. Does anyone know how we delete something from an object? Yeah, there's a delete. It's built in. It's great. I don't have to do any messing around with the object. Like, if you've used like push or pop before, nope. I got JavaScript delete operator. This is great. Removes the property from an object. If no more references to the property held, it's released automatically. And this is how I write it. So bearing that in mind, what would I type in here? Like delete is going to be the first thing. And what do I want to delete? How am I going to write this? Right idea. Yeah, we want to use bracket notation. So database, which is cows. And in brackets, we've got rec.params.id, because that's the ID that we're getting in here. That's what we're fetching in, which is coming in through the request object. All right, let's console.log our cows. All right. Go ahead and delete Simon. Bump, bump, bump. What's happened? Post. Okay, so we're getting a 404 back. Cows. Yeah, go for it. Say that again. Louder. Dun, dun, dun. That part should be fine. It picks up the ID. The single quotes are also okay. But for convention, I think you're right. I've done single and double, which is not great. I like to choose one and stick with it. But there is something, if you have a look at the form action here in the route and the form action here in the route, there's one difference. The /, yeah. And so what I was noticing here is that I'm getting cows, and so it's like appending on. And so if I add in the / here, I should be getting... Cool, so we haven't put a redirect in yet, but if I check out my cow database, I've got one less cow, and that's how I would delete. What would I want to do now? So after I've deleted a cow, I don't just want to console log it. Redirect to the cows page. Excellent. So I'm going to go res.redirect to /cows. Now let's check it out. All right, who are we going to delete? Volunteer sacrifice. Simon. Poor Simon. All right, now we've got one less cow. Okay. Any questions on that so far? All good. Any thoughts? So, what we've talked about. We've used Express. We scaffolded up our Express app. So that was all of our installs. We've gone require in our npm packages to use. We've initialized the Express as an app. Then we've added Morgan in as a logger. Set body parser. And what does body parser do? Yeah, translate the body from form data into something that we can read. Otherwise, we get back that undefined. We got our nice little cow database here. Oh, Morgan's the logger. So here where I've got get, it's just going to tell me all of the HTTP requests that I make and the status code and the route as well. So I made a get to cows and I got 304. I made a get to cows and I got 200. So that's just literally adding these log lines in here, which is handy. My CowDB. What am I doing here? What's this function for? Yeah, the home page. This serves up the home page with all of the cows. This is also our first read. This reads all of the cows. Here we're serving up a create cow page. What is happening out there? And what about here? What does this function do? Adds cows. The update is down a little bit with the ID. This is just adding a cow. Creates a cow. What about here? Yeah. Or sorry, no, that's a little further down. That's this one here. This is where we change the name of the cow. This one, we're just getting an individual cow. This is reading one cow. Here is where we're changing the name of a cow or updating a cow. And then here, send a cow to a farm. I like it. Delete a cow. Send it to a nice farm with lots of grass. Cool. Here I'm just checking we got cows, and here I'm listening on port 3000 for HTTP requests. All right. If I hop on over to my app, I can see that in real time. Oh no. Why doesn't this work? Yeah, slash and cows as well. I haven't actually made a route for like /. I don't have a home route really. I do, but it's cows, and that's how I've chosen to make my RESTful convention. So I've got my read all cows here. I can go to cows /39A. I can get one cow. I can update its name. I can delete it. And then I redirect back to all the cows. Cool. Any questions? Cool. Other things I might want to do. So probably on my homepage, what I'd want to do is add in a link to this individual, like this particular cow. So I'd add in like a link to go take me to this page instead of me having to type it out. Right? That doesn't work because I've deleted Simon. I might want to add like an image, and I could do that. I'd have to change up how I've got my cow database set up. And so what I might do is add in an image URL for each cow. So maybe I'd have name, Missy, image, and then like URL in here. And do that for each one. That would change how I deal with the cows in here, because then I'm like looking at an object within an object. Yeah. So, what were our goals for today? Wanted to perform all CRUD actions upon given data. So we've done that. We've done create, read, update, and delete, or bread if you want. We've done browse, read, edit, add, and delete. We've used forms to submit HTTP requests. What are the two methods that you can use with forms? Yes, so those are the like attributes that we have in the forms. The methods would be, what was that? Get and post, yeah. So even for something that should really be like put or delete, we're using get and post. I want to be able to access a bunch of data and perform particular actions on it, and I want to do that through a web interface. Done that. We've made a cow CRUD app. I've got a little REST cheat sheet with so these are the notes I'll send out. Feel free to like send me a message in Slack if you have any questions. But this is just a little bit of a cheat sheet. We've got our actions, create, read, update, delete, the HTTP method that would go along with it, and the routes that we've got. So bearing in mind that forms are only able to send get and post. And there's a bit more on forms here, and I've got a link to Morgan as well. Is there anything else that you'd like included in the notes? And I'll send out the repo that we've made as well. All good? Cool. If you think of anything, let me know. Any last questions? Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, pretty much. All you have to do, so you go app.listen, add this in. So before it just looked like this. And you add in this bind. And then what you need to do is go to your Wi-Fi settings, open network preferences, and go to advanced. Go to the IP and grab this IPv4 address. And then you create the URL, so it's HTTP, the IP, and then :3000 and cows. So like the route, the port that you've got, you append that on with that like colon, port, and then whatever route that you want. This is the Lighthouse Labs one. So actually it should be the same for everyone. I don't know if anyone's checking it now, but it should be the same. It's just like adding like a public, it's adding the route to the public IP, I suppose. Yeah, so you could do that if you wanted, and then you could that'd be fun to do with final projects or midterms. That'd be cool. You could get people to like go to the link. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, that's CRUD with Express. So have a great day with Tiny App. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Race.